G'day, g'day. How you going? What do you know? Don't strike a light. G'day, g'day. And how you going? Just say g'day, 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 and you'll be right.
Welcome to the Midweek End Times News and Trends Briefing as we share major events and what is happening around the world as it relates to Bible prophecy. Today's date is May 17th, 2017. As there's much items to discuss, we'll get right into it. Ahead of Trump's visit, Jordan and Egypt declare East Jerusalem capital of Palestine, according to Ynet News. In anticipation of President Trump's visit to Israel and Saudi Arabia, pressure is mounting on him to start a diplomatic process to leave the American embassy in Tel Aviv. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said on Sunday, and he told NBC Meet the Press, although the U.S. Embassy would move to Jerusalem, the president wanted to know how such a move would affect the peace process. At the same time, the Jordan Foreign Minister, Egyptian Foreign Minister, and Secretary of the PLO's Executive Committee met in Amman, Jordan, and expressed opposition to the unilateral steps in Jerusalem. The president, I think, according to Tillerson, said he has rightly taken the very deliberate approach in understanding the issue itself, listening to input from all interested parties in the region and understanding what such a move would make. In the context of peace initiative, what impact would such a move have? Tillerson said. The president is being very careful to understand how such a decision would impact the peace process. So if this could be a while, so the peace process is active, he'll hold off on moving the embassy. Well, I think it would be informed, and again, by all the parties that are involved in those talks, and most certainly from Israel's view on whether Israel's view itself helpful to the peace initiative or perhaps a distraction, the Secretary of State replied. I think that the president is being very measured as how he goes about this, and appropriately so. Tillerson's comments also withdrew reactions from Israeli political system. The Prime Minister's office said that Israel's position has been expressed many times to the American administration and to the world. The transfer of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem not only will harm the peace process, but will promote it by correcting a historical injustice and by smashing the Palestinian fantasy that Jerusalem is not the capital of Israel. So, moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, it's a great move to do. And it would seem that those who love terrorism or have such a hatred toward Israel and have this violence toward Israel and the U.S. do not like such a move. Again, moving from one building to another is really not a big deal when it comes to scheme of things. Again, you have some logistical and security measures and things like that you got to be concerned with. But moving from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is not a big deal when it comes down to it. It's Israel's land, not Palestinian land, or the United Nations land, or Jordan, or Egypt. So no other country. It's Israel's land. And they have the right to do what they want to do with the land. And but moving the embassy there is not a big deal in the scheme of things when it comes down to it. That is just taking a very simple, practical perspective on it. Also, as we mentioned, next week, President Trump will be visiting Israel and also Saudi Arabia and going up to the Vatican later on. But according to the Jerusalem Post, and it's crazy to see this, and it's always fascinating when a U.S. president travels, how much security is put in place. But according to Jerusalem Post, 10,000 police are assigned to secure Trump's stay in Israel. So more than 10,000 police officers will take part in securing the two-day visit of President Trump, expecting to take place on May 22nd and 23rd. He's going to arrive at the airport. He'll fly to helicopter to Jerusalem to visit the Old City and Yad Vashem and sleep in King David's Hotel Presidential Suite. And the police have prepared for a contingency plan in case, the weather's not permitting for him to fly there. They would drive from the airport up Route 1. And so it's definitely going to be major disruption within the traffic And part of the trip, he's going to go to Mossad, the fortress that will be under heavy scrutiny and security for the president. They said that there's about 900 personnel, 56 vehicles, including 14 limousines that will accompany Trump to Israel, according to Channel 2 reported on Saturday. And around 30 C-17 transport planes will land in Israel carrying bulletproof glass to be installed in the presidential's hotel suite and hundreds of tons of other equipment, according to the report. And again, for me, it's always fascinating to see this no matter who the president is, where they travel, but you have such an entourage wherever they go, and it cost millions of dollars for this to happen. Onto still dealing with the Middle East, the Jordan foreign minister sees new hope for Israel-Palestinian peace in the Trump era. So this report talks about how the Jordan and Egyptian foreign minister met with Palestinian chief negotiator in Amman, Jordan, to discuss reviving the peace talks with Israel. They express optimism over U.S. presidential Donald Trump's commitment to resolving the conflict. Arab officials said on Sunday that they were optimistic about President Trump's commitment to solving the decade-long Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Speaking at a news conference after the meeting, Jordan foreign minister said that his country was committed to working with the American administration toward achieving peace. Earlier this month, during the meeting with the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, Trump vowed to do whatever is necessary to broker peace between Israel and the Palestinians, but gave no sign on how he could revive the long-stalled negotiations. And despite the renewed push for negotiations, the foreign minister or the chief negotiator for the Palestinian Authority, he goes on to talk about how Israel's expansion of the settlement places puts the peace in jeopardy. The Housing of Israel's minister recently announced plans to build 15,000 new settlement homes east of Jerusalem, despite Trump's request to hold back on settlements as part of the possible new push for peace. Asked about the linking negotiations to a settlement freeze, he went on to talk about how no one stands to lose more in the absence of peace and negotiations than Palestinians who want East Jerusalem as the capital of the state that they hope to establish in the West Bank and the Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip. Senior Palestinian official says that he hopes Israel will halt settlement construction if U.S.-led peace talks to resume, but stop short of making a condition. And this is certainly a big source of contention within this whole process with this issue with the settlements. But the bottom line is, it's Israel's land. They can build what they want there. And but then you have all these forces of these other nations asking them to stop building it for negotiating for a Palestinian area. But the fact of the matter, it's Israel's land, not Palestinian land. On another hostile situation, North Korea, they had a latest missile that can deliver large, heavy nuclear warhead. So this new type of ballistic rocket was launched on Sunday. And according to the BBC, North Korea has claimed that the missile that was tested on Sunday was a new type of rocket capable of carrying large nuclear warhead. The missile, launched at a steep angle, reached an altitude of over 2,000 kilometers and traveled about 700 kilometers, landing in the sea west of Japan. North Korea said on Monday that the test was the abilities of a new developed ballistic rocket, but said that North Korea's or North's missiles didn't appear to able to leave and re-enter the atmosphere, which is crucial in developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, the news agency reported. Repeated the missile tests by the North Korea this year. Not all of them were successful, but all a breach of UN sanctions have sparked international alarm and raised tensions within the U.S. And then just on Tuesday, which is yesterday for us here in Australia, Japan and U.S. have called for an emergency meeting of the Council on Tuesday. So this is something, again, we got to keep an eye on, watch what's going on as things are developing there, and the outcome of what's going to happen. It's only going to get worse as long as you have this leader there, Kim Jong, in power. So something needs to be done about this situation. On to some other general issues. In a cashless Sweden, even God now takes collection via an app, according to the Bloomberg report. So a growing number of Swedish parishes have started taking donations via mobile app. According to this 13th century cathedral now accepts credit cards. And it's not new in that sense, but how more and more how Sweden and other countries around the world are going cashless. That's the idea here. So it's one of those things we need to keep a pulse on. And again, this is the way the signs of the times are heading in, going cashless in this aspect. And everywhere you're going, it's more of these credit cards versus not paying in cash. And then there's a report that I just saw the other day, or actually this morning. There was a situation that happened in one of the Starbucks, and their online system broke down, and because of some other situation that happened, so they can only take cash. So it makes it very difficult if no one carries cash on them anymore, and you have an online problem or things are not connecting. How else are you going to pay for items? Anyway, that's a whole nother situation. But this is this cashless society. This is the eventual mark that will go into the mark of the beast, the steps. Not saying that is the mark of the beast, but I'm saying it's going in that direction where you're not going to have to worry about a credit card or cashless society. It's going to be a mark on someone's forehead or their forehead. And so the thing with this cashless society, the banks and the government can not only see everything that you're doing and your transaction, what you're buying and selling, but they can also freeze it if they wanted to. They don't have the right to do it, but again, that's part of government control to get people to do what they want done. So it's just one of those other reports. There's so many other countries that are moving closer and closer to a cashless society. On another general issue to be concerned about, over 70 countries hitting global extortion cyberattack. So the computer from data from hospitals and telecommunication firms and other companies held for ransom in massive assault. So this hit on Friday. This holding all these extortion in the cyber attack, hitting dozens of different firms and hospitals, telecommunications, and other countries or companies. And there's quite a few countries that are upward to 70 that they said that are involved with it. And Russia was hit the hardest on this particular attack. And but it's one of those reports, again, that makes you want to back up all your information, but also makes you want to be more cautious and careful when clicking things online as well. So anything can happen, but we just need to be careful of what we're doing with our computers. And then onto an apostasy issue, and this is just more of what's taking place here. I can see their heart for unity within the community, but then you see such a compromise with this next report. How a mosque takes over Pentecostal Church. Again, this church was closed down, and so the mosque ended up taking over the church. But the fact that they're having the Christian brothers and sisters coming into this as a dedication to this new mosque there, that's troubling. And according to it was an Episcopal church pastor that was along with the ceremony that participated in it, and his participation was not just a gesture of neighborly compassion, but he goes on to say that Christians, Jews, we're all people of the book, and that we claim that the Hebrew Scriptures called the Abrahamic faith. We call it the Old Testament, and the Muslim also claim the Bible, which isn't really that true because their book is the Quran. And they also have other practices in the Hadith and other writings that go directly against what the Bible says. So Islam is not a peaceful, loving religion. If everyone followed what the Quran says, that's exactly what the terrorism people do. They're following and being Muslims that are carrying out these terrorist acts. That is what a Muslim does. That is their goal, is to take over the world. And the caliphate. So it is not a peaceful, loving religion. But this report went on to say that this so-called Episcopal pastor, which is not surprising because there's such compromise within the Episcopal Church and also the Methodists, and how they're embracing the LGBT community. Again, you got to love the people, but you don't need to embrace the lifestyle. That's the problem there. But he went on to say that he personally worshipped Allah during the service. And he says, in closing this article, that he says, obviously I'm a Christian, and I would not live comfortably with the full teachings of Islam, but I can recognize we share teachings, and we recognize the call to treat one another mercifully as the one who treats us mercifully, and translates equally into Christianity as well as it does Islam. Again, we can always be nice to people and be kind to people and hopefully win them to Christ, but you don't need to compromise in our faith and what the Bible says. And again, why would you pray to Allah? Allah is a moon god, not the God of the Bible, not the God that we worship in spirit and in truth. So there's problems when you have a priest or a pastor that is compromising and praying to a false god out there. So that is what, moving away from the true biblical faith. And then the last item to share with you, this was quite interesting and just something that I think it hits a lot of people more than others. Depends on what their situation is. But this came out of the Charisma News, how school rebukes a worker for saying, "I'll pray for you." So a school worker in Augusta, Maine, was ordered to stop using religious phrase, "I'll pray for you," and "you are in my prayers," because such language is not allowed inside a public school building, even in private conversations with co-workers. The Augusta School Department launched an investigation on Toni Richardson. It said after she alleged imposing some strong religious spiritual belief system toward a co-worker. Now, imposing your religion on someone is a serious allegation. Was Miss Richardson forcing her co-worker to convert to Christianity? Did she attempt to baptize him against his will? And it turned out nothing can be of that sort. And according to the official mandatorium, the school district, Miss Richardson had told a colleague that she was going to pray for him. It just so happened that Miss Robertson and the colleague attends the same church. Back in 2016, the colleague had been going through a difficult time to adjust to this new job, and Miss Richardson did what most Christians would do. They said, "Hey, we will be praying for you." Months later, the colleague and Miss Richardson had a falling out, leading to the complaint about the prayers. The district sent Miss Richardson a coaching memo warning her that such language is not acceptable, even if that other person attends the same church as you. And she wasn't even allowed to use the word blessing. So it's going to get worse and worse in the secular age that we're living in, the end times. But this story kind of reminds me of the movie God's Not Dead Part 2. Very similar situation that arose in that particular movie. I encourage you to go watch it. That's inspiring as well. But as Christians, we need to be bold. We need to be courageous and not back down. We need to be discerning and walking in wisdom as well, and how we can minister to individuals, whether they're in the school or in the workplace. We need to continue to pray for our fellow workers and students. We need to be praying for revival. We need to be praying for salvation. We need to be working unto the Lord so that we're having a great witness to be seen by others. Where we need to be salt and light in these dark areas. And so that's my prayer for each and every one of us, that we can be that difference maker, that we can share the love and grace and mercy of Jesus Christ everywhere we go. So may the Lord fill you with His Spirit. May you continue to draw closer and closer to Him. May you be used for Him and for His glory. In Jesus' name, God bless.